Good afternoon. Thank you. We have a couple of seats still coming. I want to say, first of all, thank you for attending. The Sundays at Neel series was fairly active, sponsored by the State College of Florida Foundation for about 10 or 12 years. COVID sort of put the kibosh on it. They decided not to restart it. And so as I was transitioning to the Pops Orchestra as a full-time employee, I said, what can we do to bring more music to Bradenton that doesn't necessarily involve 65 musicians and their time? And so I thought, well, why don't we see about starting the Sundays at Neel concert series back up again? And yeah, thank you for that. So originally, this was supposed Sundays at Neel in the Neel. By the way, named after the first president of the college, Samuel Neel. And we have about 150 seats here, and we were seeing that ticket sales were going to get at about 150. Neel seats 830. So you're nice and full in here, but in there we would have had a speckle of people here and there and there. And so the other thought was, I'm not sure how many people in our community have ever been to this hall. So raise your hand if this is your first time in our recital hall here at State College of Florida. Excellent, good. Well, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful space. It's acoustically fantastic. I want to point out some things. You'll see some black drapes here on the side. These can go in or out depending on how much reverb you want or how dead you want it. And the brass quintet was rehearsing, and they experimented with them all in different places, so it's kind of neat to be able to change the acoustics of a place like this with just the pull of a lever, you know, pretty cool. The other thing I want to tell you is this hall is a part of a bigger building that was built during COVID, and it was a $7 million construction that happened all with private money. No public money was used to build this building, so we were really proud of that here at the State College of Florida when that happened. This building was built, and then the first rain came, and if you're sitting here in the front row, you wouldn't know it, but you're actually sitting underground. The outside ground is about at your head. And there was something that went wrong, and this whole first row flooded because the water came up from underneath. So that was fun times. It was fun times. The Stiletto Brass is a group of 5 women who formed themselves in 2010. And they all knew each other, and 3 of them had played together and other things, and they got together for a trio, a rehearsal, and they're like, boy, we really miss this. Let's start our own group. And you'll be amazed when I tell you where they're all from. Maybe you read their bios, but maybe not. But they get together only twice a year to rehearse because they come from all over the country. And yesterday they rehearsed for 6 hours at the Manatee Performing Arts Center. And this is how it works. And then they're giving a concert here tomorrow. They're doing a master class and a concert at an all-girls high school, Catholic school in Tampa. And a year ago, this is really a make-up concert. So a year ago, they had a whole week tour planned to Florida. And here came Helene and here came Milton. And they were all here during the week of Milton when everything closed. So we had to cancel that concert. So this is sort of a makeup concert for that. And we're really glad that they were able to work it into their schedule. So a brass quintet consists of 5 musicians, 2 trumpet players, a French horn, trombone, and a tuba. And when these girls came together to form this group, they called themselves the Stiletto Brass. And after their first performance in Stiletto Heroes, they thought about changing their name to the Birkenstock Brass. But they said, no, we're going to push them. So one of them was born and raised in Tennessee, 2 of them in Iowa, one of them born and raised in Michigan, and one of them born and raised in Maryland. So they're from all over. Currently, 3 of them are faculty members at universities, University of Illinois, University of North Texas, and Penn State/Peabody. One of them is in the Marine Band, the President's own United States Marine Band. Hoorah! And the other one was in the United States Navy Band and then was on the faculty at the University of North Texas, and now she's retired and she just plays all the time. I was like, I want to be you when I grow up. Very nice. Between the 5 of them, they have 15 degrees. I said, more degrees than a thermometer. And what you're going to see on stage is over $50,000 worth of precious metal. Includes the instruments and all of the mutes that you will see incorporated. They're a joy everywhere they go. They have performed for the International Women's Brass Conference. They have performed for the International Trumpet Guild Conference. Can you believe there's a conference of just trumpet players? They performed for the Great American Brass Band Conference. And in 2018, they were the guest artists of the Pops Orchestra for our California Girls Jersey Boys show. They were the California Girls. And I'm proud to say they no longer have to play the California Girls song. They have real music now that they're going to play for you. So we're happy you're here on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. You chose to come and spend it with us and their music-making abilities. So Amy Gilreath, trumpet player and trumpet teacher at the University of Illinois. Susan Ryder, trumpet player for the United States Marine Band, President's own. Stacy Mickens is the horn teacher at the University of North Texas. Natalie Mannix is the trombone, played in the Navy Band and just retired as the trombone teacher for the University of North Texas. And Velvet Brown on tuba is the teacher at Penn State and also the Peabody Conservatory of Music on the campus of Johns Hopkins in Baltimore, so she stays pretty busy. And I can't wait for you to hear what they have to share for you. So please welcome to the stage the Stiletto Brass.
Good afternoon. So good to see you all here. Thank you so much for coming. I just want to talk a little bit about this piece before we play the next movement. This piece is called Scarpe, and for those of you who don't know, Scarpe is Italian for shoes. We love to go shoe shopping together. That's one of our little bonding things that we do. This piece was commissioned by us, and the composer is actually a former student of Velvet Brown's. And Velvet encouraged him to start composing, and so we were actually his first commission. So each of the movements is based on a shoe. So the second movement is called Barefoot, and to Drew, barefoot is actually a shoe. So we'd like for you to imagine taking your shoes off and standing in front of some really soft green grass, spreading your toes out, and enjoying being barefoot. So here's Barefoot from Scarpe.
We're so happy to be here. I know that I am in this weather versus the rain and the snow that has already fallen in Pennsylvania. So thank you for providing us with sunshine and warmth. The next piece on our program is Round Midnight, and it is a jazz piece. What we like to do is to change it up throughout the program, because I was just thinking, well, we don't want you to wait until the very last part of the program to enjoy a piece. So if you like jazz only and someone's dragged you to a classical concert, well, you get to have some jazz or something that you may like intermixed with the classical pieces. Round Midnight is by Thelonious Monk, and Thelonious Monk was a very prolific jazz composer and one of the most amazing jazz pianists of the 20th century. He is also the second most recorded jazz musician after, who would we think? Who is he after? Duke Ellington, yes, so after Duke Ellington. But the very interesting thing is the piece that we are about to perform for you today is the most recorded jazz piece of all time, Round Midnight. So please enjoy that.
next work on our program, Central Park Morning by David Chesky, is actually a personal favorite of mine. David is a well-known jazz pianist and composer in many different genres. Is a Grammy-nominated composer as well. His music is described as urban orchestral, and really how that's defined is a classical melding of the sounds of New York. And so this beautiful work was written for the Empire Brass Quintet, really one of the legendary brass quintets that's ever existed. And so we invite you to take a walk with us on an early morning in the calm of Central Park, within the chaos of New York. And we hope you enjoy this lovely little gem. This is a flugelhorn, and so it's kind of a hybrid between a trumpet and a French horn. Amy played it on our first work, and so it's got a little bit more of a mellow sound. So if you're confused by the look of this instrument, this is a flugelhorn.
The next and final piece on the first half of our program is composed by the Indian-American Rena Esmail. Rena lives in Los Angeles, and in her works for music, she likes to combine her Indian heritage with Western traditional classical materials. The next piece has 3 different movements, and each one of them is a reworking of a previous piece that she has written for a different type of instrumentation. The first movement is called jog, and that refers to a collection of notes, 5 notes called a pentatonic collection. These are different collections that exist in Indian music, and you will only hear 5 different pitches in the first movement. The next movement is called juta, which means shoe, and I will read a poem that is based on shoes before we play the second movement. The third movement is called tutorana, and it combines 2 words, the Italian word tutti, which means all, and the Hindu word churana, which is a form of singing that is most similar to scat style singing in jazz, so it's really fast and dexterous. And the 3 movements together make up a piece called kirkian, which means windows, and we are showing you windows into Esmail's work. Juta, which means shoe. When the shoe bites, then it becomes difficult to navigate through the world. When the shoe stops biting, then it becomes difficult to navigate through time.
Right? Now, if you don't know anything about a brass instrument, I'm going to tell you, maybe you can tell, like, does your face kind of hurt watching them a little bit? Okay, now this is intermission because they need a break to rest their, what we call chops. By the way, raise your hand if you ever heard of Louis Armstrong. Louis Armstrong is the man that co-opted and invented the term chops that brass players use for that term. So there's news you'll never use. If you need to go to the restroom, this is your only time to do that. There are women's restroom here, men's restroom here. If you don't have to go to the bathroom, I'm going to fill our time by telling you some stupid stories. Good? They're not really stupid though. And also, Dorian will tell you, I don't like a mic stand. Okay. So, the greatest thing that ever happened to the brass family of instruments is the Industrial Revolution. Because before that, there were no valves on any of the instruments. You guys are going to miss so much information. The trumpet, then known as the bugle, you just held it and you just played. Does anybody know the original name for the trombone? Sack butt. Right. How do you like that? Sack butt. That was the original name for the trombone, and it was really tiny, tiny, but always played with the slide. Everybody do this. It's the right hand that does the slide. Good. The French horn was used by wealthy people, mostly kings and queens and dukes and duchesses. They would go hunting, and they would take a French horn player with them hunting, and when they would shoot the duck, or whatever, the French horn player would play, doo-doo-doo-doo. It was a signal call. And originally, even the bugle was in these big high castle things to warn of danger. Like in the medieval times, they would see people coming for their town. They'd go, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. They'd have all these calls. So the tuba, however, and I'm sure Velvet knows the whole history of the tuba, but it wasn't as originally as big as it is. But all instruments, as you know, follow that soprano, alto, tenor, bass family. So when the Industrial Revolution came about, all of a sudden we could figure out how to put valves on these brass instruments. And now instead of just playing 4 or 5 notes, they could play every single note in the 12-note chromatic scale. And so the trumpet originally they called them keyed bugles, and they cut holes in them, like a clarinet. If you can imagine a clarinet, how you would cover the holes, that's how the trumpet was first done. And so you covered the holes with your fingers, keyed bugles. And then they put these weird, like a key, a little key on it, and this little thing would pop open. And then they invented the rotary valve, which is what the French horn still has. So when they press the button, it's a rotor that turns, and that's what opens the air to come through the instrument to change that. And then they invented the piston valve, which what you see now, where the piston goes up and down. And if you took one of those valves out, it looks like Swiss cheese. There's all these holes. And it's the combination that you press down where the air goes through the right holes and comes out in the right pitch. It's pretty phenomenal. The French horn is very unique. We had the ladies over to the house last night for dinner, and we talked about this. The French horn originally, I said the trombone was played right-handed, the trumpet is played right-handed, the tuba is played right-handed. Originally, the French horn was played right-handed because you could change the pitch if you put your hand up and down in that bell. You've probably seen her do that, right? So you can kind of control flat or sharp, make it in tune. And so originally that's how they would even change notes. But then when they put the rotors on the French horn, they go, oh my goodness, where are we going to put them? And they put them up here, and that made the French horn the only left-handed brass instrument. So everything else is right-handed. The French horn is left-handed. And you know what they say about French horn players? They kiss real good, but they sure do hold you funny. It's a terrible joke. I was telling, and I'm a trumpet player. I don't really play my trumpet anymore, but I used to play a lot. And I was telling some colleagues that are string players. We were explaining, when you play a violin, you put the bow on the string and you pull, and it makes the sound, or you push. But for a brass instrument, you can't just put the mouthpiece up to your lips and just go. You just can't do that, because the sound that comes out is this raw sound. And so the technique we use to start the sound is actually with the tip of your tongue. And the tip of your tongue, everybody can do this. Say the word tomato. So when you say tomato, that's how a brass player starts the sound anytime they start a note. And so the air is kind of backed up, and you release it with the T attack, and then you buzz. Don't do that, you'll just get spit everywhere. But you buzz your lips, and your tongue releases the air, and so you get this ta, 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 this what we call articulation. But I was explaining to some friends that sometimes and you can practice this. How fast can you go ta, 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 ta? Try it. It's good. It's good speech therapy. Ta, 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 ta. But what if the composer writes music that's faster than that? Ta, 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 ta. What if you have to do that faster? So we invented a technique about 100 years ago where we would alternate this T attack with a K attack, so the back of your tongue. So you go ta ka ta ka ta ka, and I say it's like calling a cat. Here, get it. And that's how when you hear some of the ladies, and they just played one where they had to articulate really fast, they're alternating the T attack with the K attack, and that's what's going on inside their mouth. And it's hard to be a brass teacher because you can't see what a student is doing. You don't know, is this open enough? Are their teeth open? Because the air's got to come out and come forward, right? And so you don't know what's going on in there, and are they tonguing right? And so you have to use your ears and go, oh, it sounds like you're doing it right, but it's kind of complicated and a very unique skill set for a brass teacher to teach their students how to do this correctly without being able to say, I wish we had like an x-ray machine where they would play and you could see what's going on in their face. But the worst thing are braces, really hard. Oh, can you imagine? And you put it up there and the braces like dig into your lips. Oh, and so somebody really smart, not me, invented this piece of I guess it's plastic, and it goes over the wires for like little kids. And it's kind of like a wax, but it actually is formed, and then they can play, so thank goodness for that. And then, Natalie here was playing trombone, and I heard you guys kind of laugh when she did her smear. It's a really famous trombone thing. The only thing a trombone can do, really, that's cool. I'm just kidding, they can do a lot of things that's cool. But when you were a little kid, and we have some little kids that came in, you're not little kids, but some smaller adults that came in, sitting over there to the side. Any of you guys play brass instruments? Yes, what do you play? Trombone, okay, so you're gonna appreciate this. A good friend of Natalie and mine, another trombone player, lives in New York. She invented this piece of equipment that for younger students they can put on that slide, because there's 7 positions for the trombone, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 is way out there. And if your arm isn't long enough, you can't reach that 7th position. And they're like, oh, like this, and the band director's like, you're gonna do it, like that. So they invented this thing, it's called, you're gonna laugh, it's called an extendabone. And it's this lever, that the kid can just kind of throw out and reach that 7th position and then pull it back in to work the way back up. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. And I know we have some really accomplished brass players with us today. I see Dr. Dan Burdick, he's here. Dr. Dan's also a tuba player. Dan was the tuba teacher at, can you tell me the name of the college again?
Edinburgh University.
Edinburgh University. They have a great football team there. And sitting to his right is our tuba player in the Pops. This is Jim Damalakis. And sitting to Dan's left is our principal trombone in the Pops, Dan Dodds. And sitting over here to my left is, you wouldn't know him, but I know him really well. He's a great tuba player. This is Ted Van Patten. Stand up, Ted, say hi, play tuba. Tubas rule, okay. So, yeah, and Ted plays in the Salvation Army Band, so if you're ever, the bell ringers, there's Ted. And down here in front we have trombone player Bob Stoll. Bob, stand up. Did you guys get any spit on you? Here in the front row? Well, before I go on to that, are there any, we have a trombone player back there. Any other brass players here? Oh, we've got a French horn player here. This is also my financial advisor, Don Evans, stand up. She tells me to invest in French horns. I don't know what's up with that. Any other brass players here that came to hear the ladies playing? I don't leave anyone out. Yes? What do you play? Horn. French horn. What's your name? Marcy, nice to meet you. And next to you is Joan Butcher, who plays euphonium and cornet. Thank you. So when you play a brass instrument, air goes through this piece of metal, and on the inside, it's like a tea glass. It collects condensation. People call it spit, but it's condensation. And you've probably noticed sometimes periodically while playing, they'll reach down and they'll press this little button and this condensation will fall on the floor, also known as spit. If they don't do that when they play, it'll go like Nemo, gurgle, 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 because the water builds up in those pipes. And you even probably noticed Susan literally took her horn, took a whole slide out and dumped it out. And also Stacy, that's typically, the French horns actually have to, there's some feedback. Is there feedback? Is it just me? No? Okay, I hear a buzz. Let me give you some feedback. You actually have to spin the French horn because it's, how long, we got Andrea and Eliza, both French horn players in the Pops. When we unroll that French horn, is it like a football field long of brass, just about?
I don't know that well. I think it's about 22 feet.
22 feet of brass. And so in order to play it, they wind it up. So what you see here is wound up brass. And so that water gets all in there. And so they have to spin it, and then it comes out the bell. And then they put their hand right in that bell where that spit is. Gross, right? Pretty fascinating stuff. Never shake hands with a French horn player. It's good advice right there. Don't eat yellow snow and don't shake hands with a French horn player. Ooh. All right, you guys are nice to stand up. You want to get back to your seats? No, you're good, okay. All right, do you have any other questions about brass instruments that maybe I could help you with? Or just observing something, you're like, oh, that's different. Why are they doing that? Yes?
About the different mutes.
The different mutes, yeah, well, that's easier done if I can play them. I'm not going to. But this is called a straight mute. It's just metal and it's just straight. And you see the cork on these mutes, that is made so that it sticks in the bell and doesn't fall out. So that's what that cork is for. And so sometimes you'll see them put them in and kind of give it a twist. Just keeps it held in place. And then, what if I do this wrong? They're gonna get really mad at me. Oh, it goes the other way. See, you're not paying attention. Thank you, thank you. My dad is applauding for me. This is called a cup mute. So you can see that it is clear. So when the sound hits this, then it kind of bellows back at the player. But that's called a cup mute. Don't tell Susan I'm touching all of her mutes. This, oh my goodness. This has a very, very fancy musical name. It's really, I have trouble spelling it. I have to look it up every time. This is called a plunger mute. And trumpet players like this because it makes getting your toilet unclogged easy. And then you can play with your... No, that's not how that works. This is the and literally, when you have to buy a plunger mute, now this one looks a little fancy because it's got a handle, but somebody figured that out. But when I was young, we just went to the hardware store and bought a plunger and took off the end, and that was your plunger mute. That's a true story. All right, those are good questions. Any other questions? Did they explain about the flugelhorns? Yes. Okay, good. Yes, sir?
Why did the tuba and trombone switch seats partway through?
Oh, that's a good question. I think they'll be able to answer this better, but typically, it depends on the sound that they want the audience to hear the most of. And on that particular piece, that was the one where Natalie did the slide stuff. And I think they wanted you to hear that sound over Velvet's tuba sound. I'm going to guess. They might have a more scientific reason, but that's my educated guess. What are other questions? Yes?
This is a question, it's a comment.
Okay.
I think the acoustics here are good.
Yes.
So good that when you're blowing your trumpet out, get rid of the spit.
You can... It's funny, Mr. Thorpe, this is something that I thought too. One of my first thoughts when the concert started is, you notice how they all breathe in together and you can hear them filling up with air because that is our go-go juice, right? As brass players, all woodwind players, you have to fill up your diaphragm all the way with air. So the air comes in and then it goes right back out. Which is interesting because if we have any string players, violin, viola, cello, oh good. We can talk about them all day long. So those instruments, they play a bow, they never have to breathe. And composers know this, and so when they write melodies, and they know the strings are gonna play it, they can write a very long melody with no breaks. But when you're writing for a brass instrument, you have to take into account that at some point in time, unless you want them to pass out, they must stop to breathe. And so when writing a melody for a brass instrument, they think about that, and they, the lines, how the notes go, there will always be somewhere in there to pause so they can breathe. So maybe in the second half, take notice of the articulation we talked about, and also when they breathe, it never intercepts the line. It's intentional. Okay, we didn't talk about this, that I was going to come out and talk to you, so they don't know what's going on backstage. They just think it's intermission, but I think intermissions are boring. And we don't have any wine to sell you, so I wanted to tell you that. But I do want to take a second and tell you that we have an extremely special guest here tonight with us, this afternoon with us, that made this concert possible. The Pops Orchestra is blessed to have an amazing board of directors. These are a group of people, we meet once a month. I tell them my crazy ideas and they go, how can we make it happen? And I'm grateful to that support. And so last summer, I came back from conducting the Monarch Brass, which is a lot. It's women, but like 30 of them instead of 5. And I conducted them at the International Trombone Festival. There were like 900 trombone players there. You've never heard such. It was so cool. And Amy was playing that group, and Stacy was playing that group, and Velvet. No, I don't think Velvet was. Natalie was. Anyway, and then we started talking about we should bring you guys back to Sarasota. And so I go to a Pops board meeting, and I go, I want to bring the Stiletto Brass in for a concert, but not with the Pops. And I said, here's what it's going to cost. And I had a board member go, I'll sponsor that. Like immediately. 5 women brass players, I'm there. And she's here today, and I would like for all of you to help me with a big round of applause. Thank Amy Schachter for her sponsorship of this concert. Amy. When the hurricane came through, and the Stiletto Brass had already arrived in Florida, ready to make their rounds, and it all got shut down. And they get paid for this. This isn't a free thing they do. And when you're working with schools, it was kind of challenging. And we were their last stop. And Amy said graciously, go ahead and pay them. They can come back another time. And so this concert today, Amy made sure that last year when they were in the hurricane shutdown, that wasn't a trip for naught. And I said, when can we reschedule this? And they said, let's come in November. So again, thank you, Amy. Thank you to the Pops Board of Directors. We had some slides going, but I do want to remind you that the Pops Orchestra has an amazing show coming up, A Christmas Carol, the concert. This is a Broadway-style show. Our performers, Mark Lubas is going to be our Scrooge. Mark is a fabulous tenor singer who was in Sarasota for many years and is now getting his doctorate in Colorado, and he's coming back to be our Scrooge. Justin Gomlick, if you remember our concert last year we did when we sang the Hamilton tune with Justin, he's one of the actors. Raleigh Mosley, if you're a fan of West Coast Black Theater Troupe, he's one of the actors. Also Jasmine Carter from the West Coast Black Theater Troupe, also one of our performers. Mark's 7-year-old son is going to be our Tiny Tim. It's going to be so much fun. That performance is in Bradenton, but at Manatee High School, so don't come here. And then we have the Liverpool Legends in January joining us. That's all in Riverview. 2 performances of that. And then on February 1st, right here in this hall, essentially Ellington, that's Vince DiMartino, who was actually Amy Gilrea's trumpet teacher. Amazing. So he will be with his jazz group doing Ellington jazz stuff. It's going to be a great afternoon. We've got Let's Hang On, which is our Jersey Boys tribute. And then we have Rocket Man, Elton John. And then we have our John Denver tribute that is here part of the Sundays at Neel. Those tickets, we have 150. I'm not sure if it's going to be here in Neel. We'll see, but it doesn't matter. It's just 20 feet walking distance, so you'll come here. But that was on March something. Yeah, that probably would be in Neel. And then our last concert, we're going to crank up that organ over in Neel for our organized pipes and pops to hear. We have 3 amazing local organists that are going to be performing with us. So I hope you can all make all of those performances, because I've been working my tail off. And let me see you shake your tail feather. All right. So thank you for letting me entertain you during intermission. You now know more than you ever wanted to know about brass. I'm going to go see if they're ready to start back up. And if so, please find your seats, sit back. We've got an amazing second half for you. We want to make sure you're out of here for the early bird special. Thank you so much. Here they are, Stiletto Brass.
say thanks for staying for the second half, but it seems like you didn't have a choice. But thank you for being here anyways. Again, we're so glad to be here, and I really appreciated the Michigan welcome at the beginning of the concert. So, okay, the snowbirds, right? We don't want to be in Michigan this time of year. All right, so if you have noticed from our program, something we like to do is play pieces by composers of all different demographics. We all grew up playing classical music, mostly, by dead white men. And those are great pieces. We love our Beethoven, Bach, and Brahms, and all that. But as female musicians, we wanted to expose audiences to female composers. As people of color, we wanted to expose people to people of color writing for their instruments. So that's one of our missions as a group, is to try and commission new works from composers of various backgrounds. We'd love to feature living composers, and we noticed for a lot of these pieces. And this piece that we're playing right now, we just played the first movement, and the second movement is called The Pollinators. The composer is Sarah Giacovino, and she's a trombonist in New York City. She plays on Broadway. Currently, she's in the Broadway orchestra of Death Becomes Her, the musical. So if you ever go to New York City, you can see her in that. But she's a wonderfully talented composer, arranger, instrumentalist, and a friend of mine. And we were really excited when she decided to write a piece for brass quintet, so we jumped in on that consortium and helped make that happen. This movement, The Pollinators, is really interesting because you'll hear all sorts of different insects and butterflies and fluttering things throughout the texture of this piece. And you can definitely, if you're listening for it, hear a little of her jazz background because she's primarily a jazz trombonist. Especially with the wonderful bass line of Velvet Brown. So I hope you enjoyed The Pollinators.
I love that movement. As a child, I loved butterflies, and so I knew all the names of the butterflies, so that one is especially dear to me to play. This next piece we're going to do is very interesting. The composer is Bruce Broughton. You probably haven't heard the name, but you've heard his music. He is the film score composer for films like Tombstone, The Silverado. He was the composer for the Dallas theme from the show Dallas. He's written a tuba concerto and lots of pieces for brass, for trumpet ensemble, and really prolific composer. This piece, When a Body Meets a Body, is about dodging cabs in London. Now, cab driving in New York City is one thing, but cab driving in London when they drive on the wrong side of the street is something else, right? Dodging cabs in stilettos is on a whole different level, so I highly do not recommend that at all. This piece is very fun. It's very, very challenging. It's a lot of fun, and you get turned around. You're going to hear a lot of honking of horns in this piece, and so why don't you dodge some cabs with us with When a Body Meets a Body. Well, I'm exhausted. That's a whirlwind, isn't it? All right, so before our last tune, I want to say a few thank yous. First of all, to Robin Bell and the Pops Orchestra for having us back. We appreciate your hospitality so much. She's amazing, you all. So, and the Pops Orchestra too. I also we just love her. I want to thank the Manatee Performing Arts Center for the rehearsal space to us yesterday, so we really appreciate their hospitality there. And also to Hyatt Place by Sarasota Bradenton Airport and their hospitality. They've had us with them for the last few nights. A big thank you to Mother Nature for no hurricanes this year. Yes, thank you. And I too had snow and lots of wind in Illinois, so thank you for the sunshine. This is great to gear me up for going back to more cold and wind, so thank you for that. And last but definitely not least, is thanks to you all for coming today. There was a lot of things you could have done today, and you spent your afternoon with us. And we appreciate that so much, and we hope that you really enjoyed our gift of music that we gave to you today. So thank you so much to you all. We love our jobs. We get to play music all the time, and it's just a wonderful thing. So our last piece we're going to play is, how many trumpet players out there or former trumpet players? Okay, so there's a piece that all of us know called Concert Etude by Alexander Gedicki, who's a Russian composer. And it was one of the first pieces that you played in order to double tongue. And double tongue is where you use two different syllables. You're going or right? So this is one of the tunes, and probably Susan and I have heard, thousands of concert etude solo contests or juries, or, I guess all of you have if you do all the juries. We've all heard it. So there's a brass quintet arrangement of this piece that everyone gets to experience what the trumpet players experience with playing the concert etude. And so this little solo is going to be passed around the quintet. So we hope that you enjoy Concert Etude by Alexander Gedicki.